Hello friends. Have you ever met someone so charming that they instantly made you feel like the most important person in the room? Someone who carries themselves with both elegance and fire, like a calm diplomat with the soul of a dragon. If you have, chances are you've just encountered the enigmatic Libra born in the year of the dragon. This celestial cocktail of balance and boldness produces one of the most fascinating personality types in the Zodiac Chinese Zodiac fusion. The Libra dragon isn't just a person, they're a presence. Their lives are like operas of aesthetics, ambition, charm, and contradiction. So, let's break it down, layer by layer: love, marriage, sex, friendship, business, their darker shades, and the missions that secretly fuel their lives. Love, the magnetic tango. Libra dragons don't fall in love, they ascend into it, but with the elegance of a silk scarf catching wind and the precision of a stage actor hitting their cue. It's never accidental, nor is it clumsy. For them, love is a conscious immersion into something sacred, a commitment to beauty, intensity, and meaning. They don't enter relationships to pass time. They enter to elevate life, both theirs and yours. To a Libra dragon, love is not something that just happens. It's something curated, choreographed, and deeply felt. Their emotional connection begins before the first touch. It starts with intrigue, the way someone speaks, carries themselves, expresses curiosity. They're attracted to people who have both intellect and soul, who ask big questions and laugh with their whole being. Superficial charm is never enough. They want someone who can challenge them with ideas, who holds their gaze like it's a conversation, and who doesn't flinch at emotional depth. Once they feel that pull, their courtship style becomes almost poetic. Every message is crafted, every word carries subtext, every gesture holds layers of intention. Libra, ruled by Venus, gives them an innate understanding of romance. But the dragon adds charisma, confidence, and grandeur. So, their love feels both classic and cinematic. Think moonlit rooftops, spontaneous road trips, personalized gifts with handwritten notes. But also think heated debates, flirtatious power struggles, and intense emotional highs. Loving a Libra dragon feels like being in a French film directed by Baz Luhrmann, rich in color, emotion, and symbolism. They thrive on emotional and aesthetic chemistry. How you look together matters to them, not just physically, but energetically. They crave harmony, but not silence. They want fire, but not chaos. So they're constantly tuning the emotional music between you. If you're off key, they'll notice immediately. They want a partner who feels like a duet, not a solo act or a background dancer. But beware, their idealism can also be their undoing. Because they hold love to such high standards, the real world often disappoints them. They may idolize their partner in the early stages, only to become disillusioned the moment they see a crack in the armor. They don't deal well with emotional laziness, inconsistency, or disinterest. If the romantic energy dips too low, they won't complain. They'll retreat, silently, gracefully, until you realize they're no longer emotionally present. Their perfectionism in love isn't about control, it's about experience. They want to feel deeply. Not every day needs to be a fairy tale, but they need to believe that the story still matters. They're happiest in relationships that feel alive, where surprises aren't threats but promises. They need to see your effort. They need to hear your thoughts. They need to know that love is still being written between you, even if the pen sometimes falters. Emotionally, they are generous but careful. They don't give all of themselves easily. You have to earn their full trust, and once you do, you'll find a partner who is loyal, intuitive, and deeply attuned to your emotional rhythms. They remember little details, sense when something's off, and are quick to comfort you in ways that feel sincere rather than performative. But they need that same emotional intelligence mirrored back. If they feel unseen, unloved, or unappreciated, it erodes their interest more rapidly than they'll ever admit. In conflict, they strive for peace, but not at the cost of authenticity. They won't scream or slam doors, unless pushed beyond their limits, but they will express their needs in articulate, piercing honesty. And they expect you to do the same. They despise emotional games or manipulation. You can argue with them passionately, but if you're honest, fair, and self-aware, they'll respect you more in the end. What truly sets Libra Dragons apart in love is their belief in growth. They want a relationship that evolves. They don't need constant perfection, but they do need evolution. If your connection is stagnant, they'll start to scan the horizon for something more dynamic. This doesn't mean they're inherently unfaithful. It means they're wired for progress, even in love. If you're willing to keep growing together, they'll stay with you through every season, every chapter, every reinvention. And finally, the emotional chemistry, the invisible thread that binds them. Physical attraction alone isn't enough. Emotional resonance is the true aphrodisiac. They want someone who feels like a mirror and a mystery. Someone they can explore for years and still not fully know. Because for the Libra Dragon, love isn't just partnership. It's an ongoing discovery of the other, of the self, of what two souls can build when beauty meets passion and purpose meets devotion. Marriage, the elegant equation. When a Libra Dragon makes the profound decision to marry, it is neither impulsive nor rooted in tradition for tradition's sake. For them, marriage is not just a social contract, it's an aesthetic and spiritual alliance. It's a shared vision of a life that's not just lived but designed, a journey where emotional resonance, mental stimulation, and visual harmony must coexist. They don't marry because they're supposed to. They marry because they see you as a co-creator of a future that deserves to be sculpted with intention. From the very beginning, they treat the idea of marriage like a masterpiece in progress. Every conversation is a brushstroke, every shared decision a contour. They think in terms of evolution, not completion. To them, the ceremony is just the prologue. The real story begins after the vows, in the details of daily life. The way you share silence. The way you dream out loud together. The way you argue and recover. They don't just want a partner. They want a co-author, someone with a strong voice and a bold mind, not afraid to write new chapters together. Emotional alignment is paramount. A Libra Dragon spouse needs to feel emotionally seen. They have a complex inner world, and while they don't expect a partner to understand every corner of it, they do need to feel that their emotional language is heard, appreciated, and reciprocated. They thrive on emotional intimacy that is both deep and elegant, no dramatics, no shouting matches, but real, articulate expressions of need, joy, frustration, and hope. They want emotional fluency, not emotional chaos. Intellectual harmony is equally essential. A partner who can't keep up mentally will slowly lose their shine in the Libra Dragon's eyes. They want someone curious, someone always learning, someone who asks why and how and what if. Conversations in a Libra Dragon marriage often range from the abstract to the practical, from geopolitical trends to the meaning of dreams to the lighting in the hallway. They are mentally agile, and they crave that same flexibility in their spouse. They are most fulfilled when they can learn from their partner and be challenged by them, not just supported. Aesthetics in marriage may sound superficial to some, but for Libra Dragons, it's a love language. It's not about brand names or showy displays, it's about beauty with purpose. They care how the home feels, how meals are shared, how time is spent together. They want to look at their life and feel that it has symmetry, style, and intention. A cluttered, thoughtless domestic life drains them. In contrast, a home filled with beauty, be it minimalist design, lush plants, or meaningful art, feeds their soul. They bring a high level of refinement to their role as a spouse. They're thoughtful, attentive, and skilled at creating rituals that bring two people closer. Sunday morning coffees, evening walks, shared playlists, anniversary traditions. They believe that love, when given the proper attention, doesn't fade, it deepens. They work at it, they observe, adapt, reflect. But that effort must be mutual. If they're the only one maintaining the emotional or aesthetic ecosystem of the marriage, resentment will creep in like a quiet shadow. Their conflict style is thoughtful but firm. They dislike unnecessary drama, but they will speak up when something feels wrong. They expect honesty delivered with grace, and they offer the same. Passive aggressiveness or emotional games are deal breakers. They believe in direct dialogue, even when it's uncomfortable. They prefer to repair than to rupture, but only if they sense that the relationship is worth the effort. If not, they won't explode. they'll elegantly exit, often after you already sensed them pulling away. They view their spouse as a mirror of their highest self. This can be uplifting or overwhelming. They will encourage you to grow, to reach, to question, to evolve. They want you to pursue your dreams, to cultivate your passions. They're not threatened by your ambition, they're inspired by it. But they also expect you to hold them accountable to the same standards. A marriage with a Libra dragon works best when both partners push each other toward their best selves, not from a place of pressure, but from a place of deep mutual belief. To love and be married to a Libra dragon is to commit to a partnership where beauty, ambition, loyalty, and constant growth are not just goals, they are standards. They will love you deeply, stand by you loyally, and build a life with you that feels both curated and alive. But you must understand, this is not a marriage that survives on autopilot. This is a marriage that demands presence, participation, and the willingness to rewrite the script whenever life asks you to. Because for the Libra dragon, marriage isn't just about staying together. It's about creating something together that is worthy of both memory and legacy. Sex, fire with feathers. To understand the sexual energy of a Libra dragon, you must forget everything you associate with ordinary physical intimacy. This is not a person who treats sex as a mechanical act, a stress reliever, or a box to check in a relationship. For them, sex is a multi-sensory experience, a complex language spoken not just with the body but with the mind, the heart, and the very essence of one's being. Their sexuality is layered, velvety on the surface, volcanic underneath. It is soft, slow, deliberate, until it suddenly isn't. Because when elegance meets fire, you get something rare, sacred seduction. Libra brings the poise, the sense of timing, the intuitive awareness of emotional balance. They understand the importance of build-up, of teasing anticipation, of physical harmony. The dragon brings the fire, boldness, heat, confidence, and a taste for pushing boundaries. Combined, this creates a lover who is not only attuned to rhythm and sensation but also unafraid to experiment, to lead, to surprise. Every encounter feels choreographed but never rehearsed, intimate like jazz, with improvisation anchored in emotional depth. They treat foreplay as a form of communication, one that starts long before any physical contact. A glance, a whisper, a gesture across the room can be the opening line in a silent poem only you and they are reading. They enjoy the tension between what's said and unsaid, seen and imagined. To them, anticipation is not a delay, it's an invitation. And they want you to be present for every moment of it, not just physically, but emotionally and mentally. The space matters too. They curate environments for intimacy with an artist's eye. Lighting, music, textures, scents, all are part of their sexual atmosphere. They believe that the sensual world amplifies emotional connection. A dimly lit room with soft fabric and ambient sound isn't just decoration. It's a signal. Here, you are safe to surrender. Here, you are chosen. They don't need luxury, but they need intentionality. Sex, to them, should feel like an escape from the ordinary world, a space where only two people exist in high definition. They are generous lovers, but not passive ones. They will tune into your desires with the focus of a conductor reading every movement of an orchestra, but they will also lead the rhythm, shift the tempo, change the direction. They need reciprocity. They want a partner who brings something to the encounter, not just a body, but energy, curiosity, and emotional openness. If they sense detachment or laziness, their desire quickly fades. They don't just want you to be there, they want you to meet them there. Libra dragons are imaginative and open-minded. They are not interested in shock for the sake of shock, but they are absolutely uninterested in monotony. They want to explore, to evolve, to push past routine into something uncharted. They're deeply sensual, yet they're often the ones proposing new fantasies, surprising you with sudden intensity, or shifting into a more playful, even theatrical, mode when least expected. They may suggest roleplay, spiritual connection, or simply an unusual setting, anything that reawakens the sense that this isn't just sex. This is an experience. Emotionally, they're fully invested when they feel safe and desired. They don't separate physical touch from emotional truth. Every time they undress, they're offering not just skin, but vulnerability. That doesn't mean they're clingy, it means they crave soul recognition. If you touch them without emotional intent, they will feel it. And they will slowly close themselves off. When they are fully seen and adored, however, they open like a rare bloom, generous, wild, deeply connected. But there's a threshold. They hold themselves and their lovers to high standards. If sex becomes predictable, transactional, or thoughtless, their interest begins to wither. It doesn't happen all at once. First, the sparkle leaves their eyes. Then the intensity fades. Then they begin to cancel or delay intimacy, until finally, you realize the connection has gone cold. They will rarely complain. They'll just slowly disconnect, emotionally and physically, while quietly mourning what could have been something transcendent. They're especially drawn to meaning. Every kiss, every movement, every glance should say something. That something can be tender, carnal, poetic, or wild, but it has to mean something. They view physical intimacy as an extension of their personal philosophy. It's about trust, transformation, liberation. They are capable of soul bonding through sex, but only if they feel the energy is sacred and mutual. If it's empty, they will feel it in their bones, and it will repel them. Ultimately, sex with a Libra dragon isn't just about pleasure. It's about connection, renewal, storytelling. It's where fantasy meets truth, where the body becomes a brush painting moments onto memory. They are not just trying to please you, they are trying to move you. To leave an imprint on your skin, your mind, your heart. They want you to walk away from each encounter not just satisfied but changed, like you've just stepped out of a secret, intimate dimension created by two souls who truly saw each other in the dark. To love them physically is to enter into a covenant of passion and presence. They ask for your full attention and give back tenfold. And if you meet them there, open, honest, unafraid, you will find that their touch is not only electric but unforgettable. Because when fire wears feathers, it doesn't burn you, it awakens you. Friendship, the magnetic circle. Being friends with a Libra dragon isn't just a casual connection, it's a full-on gravitational experience. You don't simply meet them, you orbit them. Their presence draws people in with the quiet pull of confidence and the radiant flash of charisma. They're the type of friend who walks into a room and changes its energy, not by force, but by sheer vibrational presence. And if you're lucky enough to be let into their inner circle, you'll quickly realize it's not just a group of acquaintances, it's a curated constellation of souls who all bring something unique, bold, and electric to the table. Libra dragons don't collect friends by accident. They choose with intention. Every person in their life serves a purpose, not in a transactional way, but in the sense that they value alignment. They look for people who can hold their own intellectually, emotionally, and even spiritually. They're not interested in surface-level friendships. If all you bring is gossip, trends, or small talk, you'll bore them within minutes. They crave realness, originality, substance. They want to know what keeps you up at night, what you dream of, what you're afraid to say out loud. Conversations with them aren't just catch-ups, they're deep dives. A dinner can turn into a 3-hour dialogue about art and mortality. A quick coffee might evolve into dissecting the psychology of love or the ethics of success. They're naturally curious, but only about things that matter. Their friendships often feel like intellectual salons where minds and hearts stretch towards something larger than life. They're happiest when surrounded by creatives, philosophers, bold thinkers, people who aren't afraid to break the mold or question the rules. They are incredibly generous as friends. Not always with money, but with time, energy, attention, and care. They will remember the weirdly specific detail you mentioned months ago and bring it up just when you've forgotten. They'll send you a quote that fits your emotional state better than any therapy session. They'll surprise you with a spontaneous invitation to something life-changing, a road trip, an underground concert, a moonlit walk that turns into a soul-bearing confession. They make life feel fuller, simply by existing in it. But their loyalty isn't automatic, it's earned. They don't offer their full self to just anyone. They observe first, study the rhythms of the friendship, test the trust before fully investing. But once they do, they are the kind of friend who will defend you behind your back, show up for you at 2 a.m., and sit with you in silence just so you don't have to be alone. They value loyalty like a sacred bond, and if you prove that you're in it for the long haul, they will repay you with fierce, unwavering support. Their friendships are dynamic, ever-evolving. They don't believe that relationships should be static. They will push you to grow, cheer you on when you risk something big, and call you out when you're playing small. They believe in expansion, in their lives and yours. If you're in their circle, expect to be challenged, inspired, and sometimes lovingly provoked. They'll ask hard questions not to judge you, but to help you excavate truth from the chaos. But they do not tolerate betrayal, dishonesty, or emotional laziness. They may give second chances, but never third. If you lie, manipulate, or abandon them in a moment of vulnerability, their warmth will turn glacial. They won't scream or cause a scene. They'll simply shut the door, quietly and permanently. And even if they let you back in, the room you once knew will have changed. They do forgive, but they rarely forget. The memory stays not as ammunition, but as self-protection. Despite their strong energy, Libra dragons are emotionally sensitive in friendship. They feel the nuances, the shift in tone, the subtle withdrawal, the missed moment of connection. If they sense they're being undervalued, they won't always say it out loud. They'll internalize, analyze, and begin to recalibrate your place in their life. Don't mistake their silence for passivity. It's evaluation. They're deciding if the friendship still aligns with who they're becoming. They're also masters of balance, true to their Libra core. They can be your cheerleader and your critic in the same breath. They know how to lift you up without lying to you. They'll tell you the hard truth, but in a way that makes you want to do better, not spiral. They believe that friendship should be a sacred space where honesty doesn't hurt, it heals. If they correct you, it's because they see your potential, not your flaw. If they praise you, it's because they genuinely admire your growth. And let's not forget their playfulness. For all their depth, they're also fun, witty, stylish, spontaneous. They throw the best parties, tell the best stories, and have the rare ability to blend wisdom with humor. They can be the philosopher and the prankster in the same conversation. They value joy as much as they value truth, and their friendships are often infused with a sense of celebration, not just of milestones, but of moments. A sunrise, a stupid joke, a song you both love. These are the threads they weave into the fabric of connection. Being friends with a Libra dragon means entering a relationship that is as exhilarating as it is grounding. They'll make you think harder, feel deeper, and laugh louder. But you'll also be held to a higher standard of honesty, presence, and reciprocity. They will not accept half-effort or hollow words. But if you meet them with authenticity and consistency, you'll gain more than a friend. You'll gain a force, one who will walk beside you not only through the parties and the good days, but through the doubt, the change, the heartbreak, and the rebirth. Because in their world, friendship isn't background noise. It's the soundtrack of a meaningful life. And once you're part of their magnetic circle, you'll never hear silence the same way again. Business, the charmer's chessboard. When it comes to business, a Libra dragon is the embodiment of the phrase, elegance in motion. They walk into a room like they've already made the deal, and more often than not, they have. With a presence that's both refined and commanding, they operate like a grand master on a chessboard made of silk and steel. Every move is deliberate, every word is measured, and every encounter is layered with both subtle charm and strategic depth. These are not loud leaders. They are magnetic ones, the kind whose influence expands before they even speak. They are naturally drawn to roles where diplomacy and vision intersect. Whether they're heading a creative agency, leading a multinational legal team, launching a fashion tech startup, or managing high-profile mergers, they gravitate toward industries where intellect, aesthetics, and leadership converge. They want to make money, yes, but even more than that, they want to make a mark. They need to feel that their work is part of something greater, something enduring. That's the dragon in them speaking, the craving for legacy, scale, and influence. But the Libra part insists that it must also be beautiful, not just profitable, but principled. Their leadership style is nuanced and intuitive. They don't rule with an iron fist, nor do they play the pushover. Instead, they operate from a place of deep observation. They read people the way some read spreadsheets, carefully, quickly, and with astonishing accuracy. They can walk into a negotiation, assess the energy in seconds, and shift their tone to strike the perfect chord. They are diplomats at heart, but make no mistake, they are always calculating. While their words may soothe, their minds are busy rearranging strategy in real time. In the boardroom, their greatest strength is their composure. They don't panic, they don't blurt, they don't bluff unless the odds are in their favor. They maintain a calm, collected exterior, even in chaos, which unnerves competitors and inspires confidence in colleagues. Behind that grace is an analytical mind, constantly evaluating risks, motives, and opportunities. They don't chase every shiny object. Instead, they align each move with their long-term vision, often anticipating market shifts or leadership vacuums before anyone else sees them coming. But what truly sets them apart is their ability to combine intellect with instinct. While some rely solely on data or gut feelings, the Libra Dragon fuses both. They analyze trends, yes, but they also feel timing. They can sense when a deal isn't quite right, even if the numbers add up. This rare form of business intuition allows them to avoid traps, pivot gracefully, and seize opportunities others miss. Many of their biggest wins come from trusting that silent whisper that says, "Wait," or "Now." They respect logic, but they follow alignment. They're also natural brand builders. Whether it's a personal brand or a corporate identity, they know how to make something unforgettable. Their aesthetic sense makes them acutely aware of how things look and feel. Websites, packaging, office culture, social presence, it all matters. They understand that in today's world, perception is value. So they curate experiences and environments that reflect excellence, style, and story. If you've ever walked into a space run by a Libra Dragon, you've probably felt like everything was exactly where it should be. However, their desire for perfection can become a double-edged sword. The Libra in them wants to weigh every option, polish every pitch, consider every angle. The Dragon, meanwhile, is impatient and hungry for results. This internal tug of war can slow them down at key moments. They may spend too long on strategy and not enough on execution. They may fear making the wrong move so much that they make none at all. This is where the cracks start to show, not because they lack vision, but because they sometimes drown in it. They do best with a strong second in command, someone grounded, decisive, and unafraid to challenge them. A trusted advisor who can cut through the fog of over-analysis and say, "Let's move." Without this grounding force, Libra Dragons can spiral into decision fatigue, second-guessing their instincts and eroding the momentum they worked so hard to build. Still, their ability to build alliances is unmatched. They don't burn bridges, they design them. And they don't just network, they connect. They're the type to turn a coffee meeting into a lifelong collaboration or an elevator pitch into a brand partnership. People remember them, not because they're flashy, but because they're elegant, intelligent, and intentional. They create value just by entering the room. Their ambition is never small. They don't want to run a business, they want to reinvent it. They don't just launch products, they build platforms. They don't simply enter industries, they elevate them. Everything they touch has a signature, a story, a standard of excellence. They see business as more than economics. It's artistry, legacy, and influence, all converging through purpose. When facing failure, they rarely crumble. The Dragon in them may take it personally, but the Libra keeps them reflective. They dissect what went wrong, not to wallow, but to refine. To them, failure is a pivot point, not an end point. It stings, yes, but it also clarifies. It sharpens the next move. They may retreat briefly, but only to re-emerge smarter, calmer, and more determined. And when they return, the new strategy is often twice as potent as the last. A Libra Dragon in business isn't content with enough. They're here to redefine what's possible, quietly, stylishly, powerfully. They're the ones behind companies that not only succeed but set a new standard. The ones whose names might not always be loudest in the room, but whose fingerprints are all over the future. They operate at the intersection of charm and calculation, of beauty and backbone. And while others are playing for a quick win, they're playing a long game that's equal parts empire and expression. To watch them work is to witness what happens when instinct and intellect learn to dance. To work with them is to feel elevated by proximity. And to compete against them? Well, good luck, because by the time you figure out what just happened, they've already moved to the next board, still 5 moves ahead, still smiling. Dark sides, the beautiful storm. Let's not romanticize the shadows too much, because while Libra dragons are undeniably captivating, their complexity can come with a sharp edge. The same traits that make them magnetic, visionary, and emotionally layered can also twist inward, creating storms that are as destructive as they are beautiful. This is not a storm you see coming. It builds in silence, behind graceful expressions and deliberate pauses. But once it's in motion, you're either caught in it, or watching helplessly as they drift into emotional distance, unbothered, unreadable, and untouchable. At the root of many of their darker tendencies is their pursuit of perfection. This isn't the kind of perfection that drives them to simply do their best. It's the kind that can distort their view of reality. Their high standards, once noble, can morph into vanity and self-obsession. They can become so consumed with how things look, their work, their relationships, their public image, that they begin prioritizing the surface over the soul. Their environments may be immaculate, their projects seamless, but behind that flawless exterior may lie a growing emptiness. The desire to appear composed and successful can eclipse their willingness to be raw or vulnerable, and they risk becoming disconnected from their own emotional truth. This obsession with appearances doesn't just apply to them, it spills into how they view others. If you fall short of their idealized version of who you're supposed to be in their life, they may quietly withdraw affection, critique you under the guise of concern, or begin to emotionally edit the version of you they allow into their world. Their admiration is conditional, often unconsciously, and when the image cracks, they may struggle to love what's real rather than what was ideal. Their emotional intelligence, one of their most powerful tools, can also double as a weapon when they're hurt or insecure. Libra dragons are incredibly adept at reading people, sensing moods, and understanding unspoken motivations. But when this gift is used defensively or manipulatively, it becomes dangerous. They might use silence to control, charm to distract, or even empathy as a way to get what they want without overt confrontation. They rarely manipulate with malice, it's usually a survival instinct. But intention doesn't negate impact. Their emotional strategies can feel like a slow, invisible tightening, leaving those around them unsure of how or when they were outmaneuvered. They're not immune to passive-aggressive behavior, either. Because they loathe open conflict, they'll often express displeasure subtly, through sarcasm, cold politeness, or strategic withdrawal. They may not raise their voice, but their silence can feel deafening. This kind of behavior often leaves their friends or partners second-guessing what went wrong, because Libra dragons rarely provide a direct map through their emotional landscapes when they're upset. They expect you to sense it, the way they do, and if you don't, they quietly categorize that as proof of your emotional inadequacy. The fear of making the wrong decision is another trap that can consume them. The Libra archetype is notorious for indecision, but in the Libra dragon, this is intensified by the dragon's fear of failure. The result? Internal paralysis. They will research endlessly, overanalyze every angle, project outcomes in vivid detail, yet still hesitate to act. Even when their instincts scream at them to go, they may freeze, overwhelmed by the weight of potential imperfection. And the longer they wait, the more frustrated they become, with themselves and with those around them. Sometimes, to protect their image, they simply disappear from the situation. Ghosting isn't beneath them, not because they lack care, but because they can't bear to be seen stumbling. This fear of vulnerability becomes especially dangerous when they're hurt. Unlike fiery personalities who explode under emotional stress, Libra dragons retreat. Not in drama, but in eerie calm. Their hurt is quiet, it doesn't shout, it withdraws. They begin building internal walls so discreetly, so beautifully, that no one even notices until it's too late. One day, you realize they no longer share real feelings. That their laughter is rehearsed. That they're still in the room, but no longer in the relationship. This emotional aloofness is their defense mechanism. They'll rationalize it as self-preservation, but it often leaves the people who love them feeling shut out, abandoned, or punished without explanation. Because they rarely show their emotional wounds, they don't always process them. They compartmentalize, intellectualize, and then bury them beneath logic or busyness. But pain doesn't vanish, it lingers. It builds. It leaks out through unexpected outbursts, icy detachment, or even reckless decisions disguised as reinvention. Sometimes they'll cut people out abruptly, not with fury, but with precision, when a relationship no longer fits their internal storyline. You won't get closure from a Libra dragon once they've made their silent decision. They've likely rehearsed the exit for months before executing it with finality. Their pride is another shadow. While it gives them strength and poise, it also makes it nearly impossible for them to admit they're wrong. To apologize without performance. To say, "I'm hurting," without wrapping it in philosophy or aesthetics. Vulnerability feels like exposure, and exposure feels like weakness. As a result, they can come off as emotionally distant or unreachable, even to the people who love them most. Their silence, their stoicism, their insistence on appearing fine, these are not signs of peace. They're signs of emotional war waged quietly behind the scenes. Ironically, their need for balance can also create internal chaos. They want to be everything at once, brilliant but humble, powerful but soft, romantic but rational, spontaneous but strategic. And when they can't achieve that perfect synthesis, they implode quietly. Their self-worth is so tied to maintaining harmony, internally and externally, that even small missteps feel like massive failures. They may begin to self-sabotage, delaying important projects, disconnecting from support systems, or engaging in relationships they know won't last, just to confirm a private belief that they're not meant to have it all. Despite their love for connection, they can sometimes make people feel disposable. Not because they lack empathy, but because they fear entanglement. When someone begins to ask too many questions, see too deeply, or expose the cracks beneath the polish, the Libra dragon might sever ties instead of letting themselves be fully known. It's not that they don't want to be seen, it's that they don't know how to stay open when vulnerability feels like a gamble they can't afford to lose. And yet, despite all this, their darkness is rarely malicious. It's poetic, it's haunting, it's beautiful in the way thunderstorms are beautiful, impressive, vast, a little terrifying, but undeniably real. Their shadow self isn't here to destroy, but to protect. Every cold silence, every manipulative glance, every perfectionistic spiral, it all stems from a desire to stay in control. To avoid being hurt, to never feel small, to keep the chaos at bay. So yes, the Libra dragon has a dark side, but it's not just a weakness, it's a mirror. One that reflects the price of their brilliance. Their fire is dazzling, their mind is artful, their heart, when unlocked, is deep and capable of extraordinary love. But that same fire can burn. That same mind can scheme. That same heart can close. And once closed, it takes more than charm to find the key again. It takes truth. It takes patience. It takes someone willing to step into the storm and not run. Life purpose, the legacy architect. Why are they here? What drives a Libra dragon at their core? The answer is deceptively simple, yet emotionally and spiritually vast: legacy. Not legacy in the shallow, ego-driven sense of fame or recognition, but in the deeply intentional, soul-rooted desire to create something that lives beyond them. To the Libra dragon, a meaningful life isn't one of mere survival or fleeting pleasures. It's a life crafted, shaped, and curated with the care of an artist and the vision of a strategist. Their purpose is not just to exist. Their purpose is to resonate. At their foundation, they are dreamers, but not the kind who float through life waiting for miracles. They are dreamers who design, visionaries who execute. They are born with an instinct to build, whether that's a company, a creative masterpiece, a movement, a home filled with love, or a family bound by truth. Whatever they build, it must carry their fingerprint, not just in form, but in feeling. They want the things they touch to be beautiful, yes, but also intentional, elevated, and lasting. Their lives must count. Their work must whisper to the future. Their relationships must mean something. They are driven not only by ambition, but by alignment. Everything in their world must fit into a bigger picture. Every choice is connected to a vision, a timeline, a mood board in their mind that's always evolving. They think in decades, not just deadlines. Their careers aren't just jobs, they're platforms for impact. Their relationships aren't just emotional havens, they're legacy collaborations. Their homes aren't just spaces, they're reflections of identity. Nothing is accidental, nothing is throwaway. If they're going to give their energy to it, it must serve the grand design. They have an inherent understanding of story. Life, to them, is narrative. It's not about collecting moments, it's about crafting chapters. They often see themselves as both protagonist and author, writing their journey with an eye toward drama, style, symbolism, and depth. They are not content to live an ordinary plotline. They seek a life with a message, a tale others might one day tell. A life that inspires, teaches, provokes, or heals. And so they move through the world with an acute awareness that everything they do becomes part of the legacy they're shaping. Every action is a ripple. Every decision echoes. What drives them isn't external validation, it's internal resonance. They want to look back and feel proud of how they loved, how they worked, how they stood for something. They aren't easily seduced by trends or surface success. Sure, they may enjoy luxury, aesthetics, and recognition. Venus and the dragon see to that, but those things are only satisfying when they support a deeper mission. They crave meaningful success, not just visible success. A life of consequence, not just content. Their ambition is rarely chaotic. It's disciplined, strategic, often invisible to outsiders. They might appear graceful on the surface, but beneath is a tireless architect sketching blueprints for the future. They think about legacy the way others think about retirement plans. What will this decision cost me, not just now, but in 10 years? What will my children, or students or readers or employees, inherit from the life I've built? How does this choice shape the version of myself I want to leave behind? These are the questions that quietly guide their every move. But their greatest internal challenge is control. Because they care so deeply about the outcome of their life, they often fall into the trap of micromanaging every step. They can become rigid in their expectations, fearful of failure, and allergic to chaos. They want the path to be smooth, the picture to be perfect, the plan to unfold on cue. And when life refuses to cooperate, as it inevitably does, they struggle. They tighten their grip, they overthink, they analyze instead of feel. Their quest for balance turns into obsession, and their creativity begins to suffocate under the weight of impossible standards. Yet their breakthrough always comes through surrender. The moment they realize that flow is more powerful than control, their purpose unlocks on a deeper level. When they embrace life's unpredictability, not as a threat to their legacy, but as a necessary element of it, they soften. They begin to see failure as texture, change as collaboration, setbacks as redirection, not defeat. And in that surrender, they grow exponentially. Their legacy becomes not just a monument to success, but a living, breathing example of resilience, evolution, and trust. The Libra dragon must also learn to release the fear of invisibility. Because they long to matter, they sometimes fear being forgotten, overlooked, or irrelevant. This fear can lead them to overextend, overperform, or attach too tightly to outcomes. But true legacy doesn't require constant performance, it requires authenticity. The more they lead from their true self, not the polished version, not the idealized version, but the raw, present, vulnerable self, the more powerful their impact becomes. The world doesn't remember perfection, it remembers truth. Another paradox they must reconcile is their need for independence alongside their desire for collaboration. The dragon in them wants autonomy, sovereignty, full creative control. The Libra in them longs for connection, feedback, partnership. They often swing between isolation and over-involvement, struggling to find the right balance between leading and letting others in. But when they finally learn to co-create, to trust, to delegate, to build with rather than around others, their legacy expands. It becomes more than just their story. It becomes a collective masterpiece. Their life purpose is not always loud or obvious. Not every Libra dragon will become a public figure or build an empire. Some will leave their legacy through intimate acts, mentorship, storytelling, art, healing, or raising conscious children. Others will shape culture through quiet leadership, through graceful disruption, through beauty that changes how people feel, not just how they think. Regardless of the scale, the driving force remains the same: to make something that lasts. To love in a way that teaches. To live in a way that lingers. And perhaps most beautifully, they often don't realize how deeply they affect the people around them. Because they're always looking forward, toward the next project, the next iteration, the next refinement, they don't always stop to see the impact already in motion. But those closest to them feel it, in the wisdom they share, the standard they uphold, the dreams they encourage. Libra dragons plant seeds everywhere they go, and those seeds often bloom long after they've left the room. So what is the life purpose of a Libra dragon? It's to sculpt a life that blends elegance and impact, intellect and emotion, vision and humanity. It's to be both lighthouse and architect. To create spaces, stories, and systems that remind others that life can be beautiful and bold. That power can be graceful. That love can be strategic. That legacy isn't just what you build, but what you awaken in others. In conclusion, the Libra born in the year of the dragon is a person of graceful power. To attempt to summarize the essence of a Libra dragon is like trying to bottle lightning inside a music box, something vast and elemental restrained within something elegant and refined. They are living paradoxes, balanced yet intense, diplomatic yet fierce, calculating yet emotional, mysterious yet magnetic. This complexity is not chaos, it is their genius. Their power doesn't shout, it hums, it pulses, it moves with purpose. Every action is part of a greater orchestration. Every silence is loaded with intent. Their grace is not weakness, it's discipline wrapped in beauty. And their fire is not recklessness, it's vision lit from within. They are leaders, but not just in boardrooms or movements. They lead emotionally, intellectually, and spiritually. They guide others not through brute force, but through presence, persuasion, and example. People don't just follow them because they must, they follow because they want to. Because the Libra dragon evokes a sense that life can be more refined, more meaningful, more intentional. Their presence upgrades the environment. Their voice adds weight to conversations. Their choices make others reflect on their own. In love, they are immersive. Their affection wraps around you like velvet lined with heat. They don't love halfway, nor do they give themselves easily. But once you're in a rare space, where loyalty, passion, and high standards coexist. They challenge their partners to grow, to evolve, to show up fully. They demand excellence not out of ego, but out of devotion. They want love to be art, not utility. When they commit, they give all, but only to those who have shown they're worthy of their truth and vulnerability. In friendship, they are discerning, yet deeply loyal. They curate their circle the way an art collector curates a gallery, with vision, reverence, and personal meaning. They will challenge you. They will celebrate you. They will see the parts of you that even you overlook. Their warmth is earned, but once given, it's fierce and enduring. They're the kind of friend who remembers, who notices, who uplifts you in both practical and poetic ways. But if betrayed, they will exit silently and entirely, leaving only echoes where intimacy used to live. Professionally, they're designed for influence. They aren't just doers, they're shapers, strategists, creators. They think in futures, brand in feelings, and move in patterns most others don't notice. Their work must mean something. Their projects must breathe. They want to create systems, cultures, experiences that don't just function, they inspire. Whether they're building empires or designing quieter legacies, their imprint is always unmistakable. Power, for them, isn't about control, it's about creation with purpose. Emotionally, they are deep wells of complexity. They feel more than they show, and they think more than they say. Their inner world is rich with reflection, memory, ambition, and private philosophies. They're not always easy to read, and they like it that way. They want to be earned, not assumed. Their emotional aloofness is not detachment. It's a boundary, a kind of sacred armor forged through experience. But to those who are patient, honest, and curious, they reveal a capacity for love, wisdom, and empathy that is rare and unforgettable. They don't just dream, they architect. Their imagination isn't idle, it's strategic. Their dreams are shaped with structure, fed with timelines, and realized through tireless refinement. They are legacy-minded, forever asking, what will last? What will echo? They want to leave something behind that is beautiful and useful. A family that thrives, a company that innovates, a movement that uplifts, a story that teaches. Even if the world never knows their name, they want to know that the world is better because they were here. And yet, they are not flawless. Their shadows, vanity, manipulation, emotional withdrawal, are real. But even those dark threads are woven into their brilliance. Because a Libra dragon is not trying to be perfect. They are trying to be whole. They are learning that balance is not symmetry. It's movement. It's knowing when to lead and when to listen, when to create and when to surrender, when to fight and when to love harder. They are not always easy to understand, nor do they want to be. Their mystery is not an act, it is their nature. They are constantly evolving, constantly sculpting themselves into something more true, more radiant, more complete. But if you ever earn their trust, their love, or their partnership, you'll find yourself changed. Inspired, seen, supported by a force that is both soft and unshakable. You'll experience a kind of magic that feels tailor-made for your soul. Not loud, not showy, just real, like an old truth you forgot you believed in. Because in their world, balance is never boring, and fire is never wasted. Want more deep dives like this? Make sure to like, comment with your zodiac animal combo, and subscribe for more character explorations. And don't forget, links in the description to all our socials. Let's stay connected.